In this video, I'm going to show you how to add collision to your tile map. And so let's get started. I have this tile map here with a very basic setup of two colors. They are 8x8 tiles. So I'm going to be using the purple tile to represent the floors and walls of these levels. And in order to do that, I need to add collision polygons to each tile. Actually, I only need to add it to a single tile, the purple one, since any changes I make to that tile will be applied to any tiles that were already laid out in the tile map. First thing we want to do is click on our tile map and select our tile set. And down here in physics layers, I'm going to unfold this section and click on add element, and we'll get this little block here that represents our first collision layer. So go down to the tile set window if you don't already have it selected, and then go into the middle column and select this middle tab named select that has the blue arrow. I'm going to select the purple tile since that's where I want to add my physics. And you'll see I have this option here now, which got added, that will group any physics layers that I add to this tile set. And so I only have one at the moment, and by default, it's labeled 0. There's some properties here, but I'm not going to mess with these for now. Default is okay in this instance. And the quickest way to do this, since I want a square shape for this tile, is hitting the F key, and that will reset to the default tile shape. This went ahead and created a polygon over the tile, and now all of these tiles in the tile map automatically have these collision squares on them, and I don't need to add them any other way. It just automatically works that way because any changes I make to the tiles here will be reflected in any tiles that are already set up in the tile map. Your game might have a slope for the player to climb on, and you can create a triangle easily for that slope by clicking on the delete node tool or the delete point tool, and then hover over the point, and you'll see that it gets a hover color. You can go ahead and click on that, and it'll get rid of that point, and now you have a slope for the player to walk on. If it was a different direction, you can go ahead and do the same thing over here. You see this little window bar up here gets in the way, so you can move this around just like this viewport over here. If this is getting in your way, highlight the point you want to get rid of and click on it, and it'll delete it. If I want to get rid of the rest of the polygon, I just need to reduce it to less than 3 points, and it'll automatically go away because you need at least 3 points for a polygon. If I want to add points manually, I can click on this add point or add polygon tool and start clicking inside the shape, and then I can essentially make any shape I might need for whatever environment or tile set art. But because this is a very simple tile map for a prototype, all I need is the square. How do we test to see that the collisions are working? We're going to want to add a character body controller. That way we can see the player navigating on the collision. So a quick way to test these collisions without it getting too complicated, we can go right here to our main node and add a character body 2D. And by default, it's going to place it up here at 0, 0, in case you can't find it. Our character body is in need of a collision shape, so let's go ahead and add that too. We'll want a collision shape 2D. Let's use a rectangle shape 2D. And now you'll see we have this box that can represent the player. So I want to add a sprite as a child of this character body and do that here. I need to assign it a texture, And I have this character sprite sheet here that will be linked in the description. And it's actually got multiple frames. So let's go ahead into, first of all, the offset, because we want the base of the rectangle to be at 0, 0. And the next step, we're going to open the animation section and set the horizontal frames or H frames to 6, which is how many frames this spreadsheet has. So I want to resize the collision shape to fit the player. Select the collision shape, click on the collision shape here in the inspector, and then let's change its size to fit the sprite. Then we'll have to move it up in the Y a few spots to match where the sprite is. And if you're having trouble seeing that, you could always reorder the collision shape. It just needs to be a child of the character body. It doesn't matter the order. There's a little bit of wiggle room here for the player, which is adds to the game feel a little bit. So now we've got our character body set up with a sprite and a collision shape. The next thing we want to do is add a script. So let's click on new script here. And we want to use this template. If you don't have that checked on, go ahead and turn that on. And then you want to select this, and this should come up by default. If not, you can pick it from that little window. Find somewhere to save it. I'm going to put this into my entities folders. Go ahead and create that. And I'm just going to lower these default settings because the defaults are rather large for a game with 8x8 tiles. And you'll see what I mean in a second. So I've adjusted the speed to 20 and jump velocity to -250. Now I'll go back into the 2D view and I want to move the character. And if you're not sure how to do this, you select the character here and then make sure you have this move mode tool selected. You could also hit W on your keyboard and you can place your player anywhere on your tile map where you want it to start. You want to place it actually within this light blue outline because that's where that's what the camera is rendering. And when you run the game right now, that's the viewport. And so if I hit play, you'll see what I mean. So now you'll see I have the character here, and if I hit left and right on the keyboard, the character moves, and it's using the collision polygons that were set up in the tile map earlier. And you see the player can't get through the walls and it won't fall through this other floor that you can't see at the moment. So here I'll start it again. And if I jump, it won't go all the way through the roof. We did leave a little bit of headroom in our collision shape. So you'll see here that it does break contact. But as soon as the polygon that goes to about right here hits the top edge, it'll stop. And then if I move left, it'll run into the wall. If I fall off the edge, it collides with this square here and it acts as a floor. There you go. Then there's a floor down here that's off screen. It's holding the player up. They won't go through these walls either. See, so we only had to set up a single tile, and you see why this is a good option for quick prototypes. Just a basic 2-color tile set with 2 squares and one of them is your collision and the other one is just your background. And you have a character with a simple sprite that stands out and you're able to easily see it on the screen. So yeah, that's how you can quickly test your tile maps and these little levels that you've created.